How's my pups? Oh.
Welcome back to the channel, guys. It's been a while, but today we are taking apart this two-piece hutch and turning it into something amazing. We've actually done the same exact piece on here a while back, so if this looks familiar to you, no, you're not crazy. So I want to turn this top part of the hutch into a standalone console, so I'm just marking out the cut so that I can chop off these sides. Now the next thing to do is to reinforce the sides, since I have to take out this like support block thing in order for the whole thing to be flush. How did it snap? We're probably just gonna have to Bondo that and make a new hole. Holy cow, that's never happened to us before. Since a lot of this is going to be covered up anyway, we can just put another screw in right below it. Okay, so I realized I didn't explain anything. I want to cut like this piece all the way down to make it flush with this. There's this piece that's kind of holding everything together. We have to reinforce this into that. Because if we just take this out, it won't have any support, so that's why we're drilling all these holes and screwing it. My big fat head doesn't get in the way. Ideally, you'd want to have the guide like lay flat on the piece, but it would be way too tall for us to work with since we'd have to have the hutch like standing sideways. So the straight edge guide is set up, and all we need to do now is just make the cut. Smells like wood. We took off that square detailing on the front there, and by and large, everyone hates that we did. Honestly, I'm not sorry about it though, because it's mine. I wish we had the videos for it, but a lot of our footage actually got lost after we changed out our phones. So here's us doing that from our last video. I'm taking out the shelf right now just so I can have like better access to the inside of the hutch, and then I can work on the shelf separately. I find it a lot easier to disassemble whatever I can instead of working around like different components. Anyway, I found this set off Marketplace for free, which is crazy because the last set was also free, and even crazier, I can split it up into two sections and sell them separately. I think it's probably hard to find someone who, like, number one, likes this style, and number two, has a vehicle that's big enough to move it. And honestly, it's probably just becomes a big hassle for the owners to dump themselves, so if they can find someone to get it out of their house for free, they're probably already happy. We're moving on to the big daddy damage, which is those holes that we left on the side, and also I ripped off a chunk of veneer on the front. So now I'm removing the finish off of the shelf with some acetone and steel wool. I would actually recommend using like the scrubby side of the kitchen sponge over steel wool just because it doesn't gum up quite as quickly, and then you can use it for longer. after I get most everything off, I'll go in with like a clean paper towel and clean acetone just to get everything evened out. Dude, my hands were legit freezing doing this. Does anyone know why acetone makes your hands so cold? Anyway, after like an hour of scrubbing, I was finally done, and then I moved on to some 150 on the top, and then I noticed this stupid little bald patch that stressed me out for like 4 days because I didn't know if I was going to be able to fix it. So we just covered that up because out of sight, out of mind, I guess. And then we moved on to priming what needed to be primed. Using this Zinsser Bondz primer, which was actually sent to us, but we're not sponsored. So this is kind of like a water-oil hybrid for extra sticking power, so mixing it up is really important.
Oh my gosh.
We're using this in our paint sprayer today, and honestly, thank God. There is so much surface area to cover that doing it by hand would have taken me so long. Okay, so I've got this all coated now, and we just need to move on to this backboard. Let me just show you. I need to coat up until this line right here. Yeah, but I left the pins in here just so we can line them back up later when we go back to put it on. So this is what the primer looks like when it's dry. It was coming out a bit splattery, so I was having like doubts or I was a little scared, but it actually came out pretty smooth. So these areas where the squares used to be had a lot of grain showing through, so we need to cover that up because the rest of it is pretty smooth. Just priming over it again with some of this like shellac bin primer just to even out the red. Okay, so as you can see, I've got a door here. We already took out the glass panel and we're gonna be replacing it with this wooden panel. This is just, I think, birch 1/4-inch plywood. I'm gonna hit it quickly with some sandpaper. I can't remember if I used 150 or 180, but we're doing both sides, and then because it's untreated, I have to cover it with some more of that bin shellac to prevent like bleed through and moisture damage. So next we're gonna go to Home Depot to get some wood to build a base, because right now it's just a saddled box. Pretty straight. So we cut down the boards to size on the miter saw, and now we're gonna work on the legs for a little. It's pretty good to me. We're gonna be joining these boards using pocket holes, and honestly, if you're into pocket holes, you kinda need this Kreg thing. It's got a built-in clamp, which is super helpful. I've used those little loosey-goosey guides before and they do work, but clamping and unclamping wastes so much time. With this one, I can just keep popping the boards in and out and it's perfect every time unless you mess up on your settings, which lead me to this. Okay, so we just made the mistake of setting the collar for the pocket holes a little bit too deep. We just assumed that this was 3/4 of an inch, but it's actually a little bit less than that. Fixing it to be a little bit shallower. So this is like the new one. The old one stuck out even more, but you can see how it like might make it swell. This one's already a little bit better. The other one was about to literally poke through. So I feel like no one on here clamps down their boards when they assemble, or at least they don't show it. This is my PSA for you to set up a jig. If you're just holding it with your hands, the boards are gonna move and it's not gonna be perfect. So moral of the story, don't trust YouTubers, trust me instead, another YouTuber. But seriously, just set up a jig. And just for some more jazzy pizzazzy, we're gonna give the base a round over. This tool honestly scares me a little bit still, but it's worth it. Now finally, for the color, we're using Oat Latte by Rust-Oleum Chalked. Also sent to us, but again, not sponsored. I know a lot of people aren't big fans of chalk paints, but this one doesn't dry chalky to the touch, which I actually like, and it still gives you like that chalk paint durability. These light warm cream colors have been selling really well for me. Literally my last like 5 or 6 pieces on Marketplace are all variations of this color and they go quick. It's just so versatile and it goes with any color scheme. Freshly dried paint and scraping metal do not go well together. We had to fix that. But after we did, we went in with some Varathane Poly in matte because that is the only sheen I use because I just think matte looks a lot more modern. You guys, this is literally every day. I don't accommodate the camera when I'm working and Kendall has to chase me around trying to get the shot.
I think that's good.
I'm making a paint wash now with the same Oat Latte color, and I think I did like a 1:3 ratio, maybe 1:4. It honestly doesn't matter that much.
It stays wet.
Anyway, I'm coating the shelf, the top, and also the base that we built. Now, the first coat of wash always looks a little scary, and that's why I ended up doing 4 of them. To be completely honest with you, I was hoping that the paint washes would drown out that bald spot, and luckily, it did. Now after all that was dry, I went in with my favorite stain, and that is Flagstone by Varathane. It's actually really good. It comes out super evenly while still being pretty pigmented. Love this stuff. Not to mention the color is like the perfect rich medium brown. Just gotta seal everything with some more of that clear poly, and we are good to go to assemble everything back together. I was really dumb and didn't label the hinges when I took them off, so they were a bit wonky. I didn't have them in the right place, evidently. So I ended up taking them to the vise, don't judge how dirty it looks, and then just banged the ever-living shit out of it. And lo and behold, it was better than ever, and now we can move on to putting the backboard. Last thing to do was to move everything inside and attach the base. So, from old, dirty, and literally on its way to the dump, this thing rose from the ashes and she looks better than ever. This was a pretty complicated makeover, but the end result was so worth it. Honestly, I'm tired just watching through all the clips. Anyway, that's it. See you guys later.